and welcome to Steelers Today. He's Dale Lolley. I'm Dejan Kovacevic. We're from DK Pittsburgh Sports. And the Steelers just lost by, my goodness. Did they take the score down? No, there it is.
It's up there.
They might leave it there for a month. 41-10.
41-10, and really it wasn't that close. As pretty much to a man, the Steelers said, hey, different versions of we stunk, we got our butts kicked, we didn't show up. Pick the whatever you want to say.
There wasn't much imagination to the responses, nor really should there have been. As T.J. Watt kept repeating again and again, I really don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They put themselves into a position. I mean, not to take anything away from Cincinnati, but they put themselves into a position to get pummeled, particularly up front on both sides of the ball. And you could tell that was the part that really stuck in Mike Tomlin's craw.
Yeah, and I don't even know that the offensive line got its butts kicked. I mean, obviously the results were the results, but the defensive front got its butt kicked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. First play of the game is a 25-yard run by Joe Mixon, and it just went downhill from there. I mean, the Bengals just continually ran downhill at the Steelers. That first possession, that first touchdown drive, I believe was 59 yards on the ground.
Out of the 75.
Out of the 75.
Yeah.
I mean, they just ran the ball down the Steelers' throats, and it continued throughout the course of the game to the point where Joe Mixon set a career high for rushing yards with 164, I believe, was the final. They didn't get to 200.
Yay.
Yay.
Here's the thing, though, Dale. When we talk about the Steelers' defensive front, there's a lot of different ways to define what a front is. This front, has a healthy, hardy, invested Cam Heyward, a healthy, somewhat hardy, and invested T.J. Watt. Do you know how much the rest of the group has to suck for it to get devastated like this?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, look, before this game,
you're falling off a cliff there.
They took their starting nose tackle, Isaiah Buggs, who had been starting in place of Tyson Alualu.
Yeah, he watched with us.
He was inactive for this game. Now, part of that was because they knew they were going to be in a nickel a lot because the Bengals play a lot of three wide receiver groups. But the other part was that they wanted to put Heyward at nose tackle. Well, I wonder why. Because that's where they've been getting beat at. You either have the horses or you don't. Now, the Steelers have some horses, but as we're seeing, it's just too easy to pick and choose or find your way around those guys. And the Steelers have to come up with a plan to fix that. I don't know what that plan would be other than cloning Cam Heyward.
Yeah, that's the part that gets you, is that it's not just him. I know that the Devin Bush is an easy target. He's been an easy target for me. I'm not running from that. But I also know that he's been terrible, and he was the one that was responsible for that 25-yard run right off the bat. He goes right up to Mixon. He's right there, has his arm on him, and then, phew, there he goes. Then you start thinking, okay, well, bench Devin Bush. Well, I could have given you this same shrug before Robert Spillane went down with the knee injury, which he did today. And I could say the same thing about the defensive line, which is what I think you're getting at here, because what do? You just, Carlos Davis isn't even active yet. You make him active. Isaiah Loudermilk. There's nothing there, man. There's nothing there.
They're searching for
Who's your inside linebacker? Is it Buddy Johnson just going to all of a sudden show up on the field? No.
I mean,
what's your answer?
Joe Schobert had 87 tackles.
Yes,
in this
he
game
did,
today.
at least.
Now, were a lot of them splash tackles? Were they 5 yards down the field? Yeah.
Yes.
But where does that start at? Is it his fault that the running back's getting 5 yards down the field before he's hit? No, it starts with that defensive line. And, coming into this season, the Steelers had probably the best defensive front in football when you looked at what they had.
Oh, every
and they don't
metric and evaluation will tell you that the combination of Heyward, Tyson Alualu, and Stephon Tuitt.
And you add Watt and Highsmith into the equation as well as part of that five-man front, and it's really good. But you've now taken two key pieces out of that, and obviously it's just not working. And teams have figured this out. And I'll say this as well. The Steelers, even last year, weren't a stout run-stopping group. They're built to penetrate and get guys behind the line of scrimmage. So you give up a 5-yard gain. You give up a 5-yard gain.
Take them,
and then you get a 2-yard loss, and now the opponent is behind the chains, and they got to throw the football.
Wrap, and tackle. Yeah, they were not set up to stop you at the line of scrimmage.
But what's happening now is that teams are just – Joe Mixon had 20 carries in the first half of this game. First half.
And kept going.
This is the NFL.
Yeah, they weren't Coach Taylor over there wasn't exactly hiding what he wanted to do.
No, I mean they barely threw the football, and when they did, to their credit again, I think Burrow was 10 for his first 11. That's where you get into trouble. Yeah, you got him into 3rd and 5. Okay,
then
Burrow completes a pass and they convert it and they stay on the
usually
field.
Against James Pierre, and there was some of that going on. From the other side of the ball, Dale, I feel like the answers are just as limited, if not more limited. I mean, what do? You put Zach Banner in at right tackle, move Chooks to the left? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a matter of the guys.
Because that's isolating on Dan Moore, and he's not the only one that's stunk.
Yeah, to me, the offensive struggles in this game all started with Ben Roethlisberger throwing that early interception. He and Chase Claypool weren't on the same page on that one. Claypool did have a couple of drops in this game, but he also made a couple of big plays. So you're going to have that from time to time, but you can't have that when your defense is getting gashed.
Yeah, that's
it just can't happen.
The big mistake by Ben was something that Ben addressed afterward. I'm not sure I completely understood it or that even he necessarily did, but here's what he had to say.
Moving a little sooner than I wanted to, the double move. I let go of it like he was going to go outside him, and he ended up coming in, going inside him. It wasn't the wrong route. It just I let go of the ball probably a little too soon, and it unfortunately worked out the way it did.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, as I noted in our live file, he threw that like he was throwing a back shoulder throw down the sideline.
Right, as if Claypool was going to do this.
But Claypool got the inside leverage on the cornerback. If he throws that out in front,
at 6,
Claypool might still be running.
It's 6.
But as he said, he had to throw the ball before he saw Claypool take the inside angle on that.
Yeah.
And, again, that goes back to the offensive line. He didn't have the time that he needed to make that throw. But you still can't have those kind of throws. You can't have, the interception right after your defense finally gets a stop and turns the Bengals over at the end of the first half and you throw a pick 6. I understand his arm got hit. But those are the kind of things that can happen, that have happened to this team, particularly in the losses. I mean, when they've lost, it's been something like that happening.
Yeah, and there's nothing at all that stands out quite like the run defense. And I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you what Cam Heyward had to say on that particular subject.
It's not the only thing. I'm not going to make excuses. We sucked out there. We didn't get the job done. We dropped the ball. You don't need to look any further than me.
Yeah.
That's your defensive captain wrapping that up in a bow.
That is it. When we come back on Steelers Today, we're going to talk about why those guys stayed in as long as they did in the fourth quarter. Welcome back to Steelers Today, and Dale, we saw Ben Roethlisberger and Cam Heyward and T.J. Watt, pretty much everybody except Najee Harris, staying out for the entire game. I guess before we get into that, this was Mike Tomlin's rather spirited explanation for why.
We need to work. We weren't playing well enough.
You like it? You agree with it?
I'll be honest. I've been in that kind of situation before. The basketball team that I played on in college was not great, and there were some times where we were, quite frankly, getting our asses kicked. And I wanted to, teams at that, they try to pull the ball out on you and hold the basketball. I want to keep playing.
Yeah.
I want to compete, and so I get why guys like Roethlisberger and Heyward want to stay in there.
Which they both said that they did. That's a feel thing with your team. I really think that it is. Some coaches are going to yank their guys right away. Others are not. I think if you're trying to develop something or develop Cam Heyward talked about it being the Steelers' way, that you don't quit, you don't. He also mentioned that part of the Steelers' way is tackling.
Yeah, and those things are, some of that stuff may not pay dividends today, but maybe it does next year in a similar situation. I mean, they could have easily quit last week against the Chargers, down 17 points in the fourth quarter, and yet they didn't.
Yeah. I think it's easier for us to have this conversation since no one got hurt. If any of them had gotten hurt, this would have blown up into something massive.
And I get that,
you know?
and it's a fine line that you do have to walk. I mean, as soon as Mike Tomlin pulls his starters out, what's the first thing half the public out there says? Oh, Mike Tomlin quit. So I get it. I understand both sides of the argument. For me personally, having been a competitor, I want to go out there and compete to the end.
No, I get that. I get that aspect. I just feel like there's so little. This is the part that's exasperating about this team right now. If I felt like I did maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago when I think, hey, you know what? Having a quarter together is going to be beneficial for these guys and for the offensive line and everything. But you don't see them getting any better. You don't see the play calls getting any more imaginative.
Well,
it's
me,
just a lot of 2-yard runs
Yeah.
right into the line of scrimmage, and it's just I don't see anything. Actually, one thing I thought got better, even in the context of a couple of interceptions, was that Ben made a concentrated effort to get deep.
Yeah.
And connected, way more than what we're used to. Now, it came at a price, but other than that, I just don't see any improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, the play calling lacks some imagination. It lacks rhythm, really. I mean, I just don't see
it. It has all along.
When you come out at the end of the first half and you get the ball back just over 2 minutes left to play, and your first 2 plays out of that, you've got all 3 timeouts or a couple of running plays. What are you trying to do? Establish the run? Down 24 to 3 at the end of the first half. I mean, I just don't get that.
That's not lacking imagination. That's lacking a brain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just dumb.
I just don't get it, and I don't know that I will get it. I just, for whatever reason, to me, the Matt Canada experiment doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work.
It's I'm sure it was fine in Maryland, but this is the National Football League, and it's not happening so far. Anyway, we appreciate you watching this. We're going to go do some writing and then head on home.